Hi guys, my name is Omar with Overlanding Just Cause. In this video, I was contacted by a company named LITime. So when you read it, it looks like it's pronounced LITime, but it's actually a play on words. The correct pronunciation of the company is lithium. So this company sells lithium batteries and DC to DC chargers, inverters, all these things. But they reached out and said, hey, here's a battery. Well, I wanted to really take advantage of the whole setup. So they actually sent me a brand new battery that just came out, which we'll talk about in a second. But they also sent me a 3000 watt inverter and a DC to DC charger. So all that was installed in the Lexus, and I'm excited to share it with you. Let's go. Now, first things first, if you notice, I have a platform in the back of my GX. I do have one of the seats along with the rear passenger side. So this whole side has seats. I have two kids that are with me regularly. So it's the driver and passenger plus the back passenger plus the back passenger with the third seat. The other side behind the driver's seat is taken away. I build a flat platform. When you look at most dual battery setups for auxiliary batteries, it's usually in the back. There's a lot of space and people put them on molly panels. Well, I don't have any of that. And I needed this space back here so that I can do solo camping and sleep in the back of my rig. What I decided to do was put it under this platform right behind the driver's seat. It was a tight fit, but I think it's gonna work. Right now, it's the testing phase, but let me show you what I've got. All right, so here is my setup. I actually lifted this platform. That's where the back seat goes. I have two captain chairs, took one captain chair away. Here is the 165 amp hour battery from Lithium. And it's a Group 31, 12.8 volts, 2112 watt hours. This thing is a beast. It is 8.5 inches tall, 6.7 inches thick, and 13 inches going long. This is where I decided to place it. If you notice, I don't have any kind of battery holder. It's not mounted to anything. It's on this rubber grip pad right here. But I've been driving around with it for a few days and it hasn't moved. Now, of course, that's on the road, not on any trails, bumpy trails, things like that. Because the platform sits low, the platform is heavy, this thing shouldn't be going anywhere. But again, I will do a test run here shortly soon to use this, and I'll give you updates on that. Behind it is a DC to DC charger, also from Lithium. It's MPP controlled also, so that, which means that I can hook it up to a solar panel to charge this battery. DC to DC charging means that I can charge from my starter battery to this battery using this device here. And when I cut off the truck, it cuts power to this battery so that the starter battery doesn't get drained. Here are all my connections. I've got this one going straight to the starter battery, and then from the starter battery to the DC to DC charger. From the DC to DC charger, this connection goes to this battery, and then I have a negative and a positive going straight to the 3000 watt pure sine wave inverter from Lithium again. It has all my controls on this side so I can access it. I've got AC power, I've got USB-A, USB-C, and I've got other sources to connect from. Now, again, I haven't tested it out. Here is my ground wire, which once I start plugging things on out to go camping, I'll make sure I use that ground wire. The hardest part about setting all of this up was getting these wires prepped. Getting wires prepped, obviously it takes a lot of time. You want to make sure you do it right. You want to make sure you waterproof it. This one was the trickiest one. This one's going to the starter battery. Connecting it to this Anderson plug is super easy. Then I had to measure, and I ended up going right into the plastic next to the driver's seat. If I open the driver's seat up, it's underneath. So you see it right here, going underneath this plastic. It comes out and underneath the vehicle. Now, I decided to go out of the vehicle and underneath the vehicle because I didn't want to go through the grommet. That grommet already has several things poking through it. For the most part, these 6-gauge wires were not gonna fit, and if they did, I was going to be pushing by, and it would have just been a tight fit. Let me show you under the hood. From outside the car, underneath this piece here, if you notice, it comes out. I've zip tied everything to go underneath. If you notice, it's zip tied to this wire that leads to the rear of the truck for my trailer connection. I have it zip tied up here, and it goes straight up. The wire goes straight to a 60 amp fuse, which then is connected to the positive terminal of the battery. And then the negative terminal goes straight to negative. The hardest part is trying to figure out the distance, because trying to put these terminals on while the wires are up here is really hard. You know, I have to hammer it in, so I have to use the ground for some kind of leverage. So everything had to be done outside before installing it in. So again, starter battery to 60 amp fuse. 60 amp fuse goes through the car, past the driver's side, and into the DC to DC charger. The instructions by Lithium are spot on. Pretty much it tells you what kind of gauge wire you need for the certain distance. Remember, the longer towards the back of the vehicle you go, the thicker the wire is, so the lower the gauge is. So right now I'm using a 6-gauge wire. If I wanted to connect this dual battery setup at the back of the car, probably would have needed a 4-gauge wire, so a thicker wire. This whole setup will allow me to pretty much have power the 2 or 3, 4 days, probably 2 to 3 days that I'm camping in one spot. Now, the minute that I turn the vehicle on and I go to another spot, that's charging this battery. So ideally, I can be non-stop using power out of this battery and not taking any from my starter battery under the hood. If you notice, the negative and positive wires that are going to the inverter are a little bit longer. That's only because I needed to be able to lift this platform up, and right now I just have a stick holding it up, but I am planning on making it a little better, something that's a little bit more permanent. Now, another cool thing about this battery, again, it's just released by Lithium. They told me I was the first one to get it to do a review. This is just an initial install and my initial thoughts on it. I haven't been able to take it out just yet, but that trip is coming soon. The cool thing about this is I don't need a battery monitor because this is connected through Bluetooth. Let me show you how it works. So now the power's turned on. The DC to DC charger right now says currently charging. It is set for lithium. You connect it to an app, and this app has my battery. So now at any point, whether I'm camping or driving to my location, I can click on it to see what is going on with my battery. Right now it shows I'm using 0 power, 13.4 volts, 165 amp hour capacity. It lets me know the balance between both my starter battery and my auxiliary battery, how that's going. Everything is normal on that end. And then the BMS is running smoothly. So it lets me know and it keeps me updated. It gives me the battery temperature, how many cycles the battery has been through. Right now it's saying cycle time 0. That's because it's a brand new battery and I haven't cycled it through to charge. It is a lithium battery, so this thing can take, I want to say plus or minus around 4,000 charges, which is pretty nice. It's going to last a long time. I'll leave the link to the new lithium battery, the DC to DC charger, and the inverter down in the description below. The other thing I forgot to mention is I do have a 50 amp fuse here. Now, according to the instructions, the 60 amp fuse that's next to the starter battery and this 50 amp fuse that's just before the starter or the auxiliary battery, these are both optional. You don't need it, but they're good to have. And because this is inside my vehicle and I'm gonna be sleeping in it, I don't want anything bad to happen, obviously. So if anything bad is going to happen, the fuse will break and I'll have a connection loss between the two. So, or if there's an emergency, I can just make sure I stop connection. When I go to lower this, put this down here, sits nice and flush. I have some hinges here. Usually I have my pad here. It's a pretty comfortable setup. When I go camping, I will have my refrigerator right here. I'll run the power to this inverter. I can run in a grid down scenario where, let's say we lost power because of a storm, I can run my refrigerator, take an extension cord, plug it in. I can run a lot of things with 3000 watt as long as the battery can hold it. With 165 amp hours, it will sustain a good amount. It is just not going to last long. So my next step coming in the future will be to have a solar connection. It won't be a permanent setup. It'll be something that I bring with me, and then when I get to camp, I connect the solar part to the DC to DC charger, and then put my solar panel either the front of the car or on top of the car, wherever the sun is pointing. It's been a while since I put out a video. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If I missed anything, please leave them in the comments. I will also, again, be going out here shortly, and I will be testing this setup out to see how it does. I'm sure it's going to be great. I've been running it now for a few days. I've been testing it out. Everything's continuously working. Now I'm going to put a load on it and see how long it lasts, what I need to kind of tweak when I take it on the trail, see if I need to maybe secure things a little bit more properly. I think that's all. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.